Picture a cinematic smash cut to this completely startling reality. 30,000. That's it. That is the exact number of days in the average human life. I mean, if you're 30 years old right now, you've already spent 11,000 of them. Boom. Gone. And yet so many of us just keep operating on this really dangerous assumption of someday.
Welcome to this explainer. We're looking at the paradox of paradise. Today, we're going to dive into the disturbing hidden costs of modern comfort, how our relentless drive to make life perfectly easy is literally rewiring us, and, most importantly, how we can biologically and psychologically escape the hamster wheel. Let's get into it.
Chapter 1. The Paradox of Paradise. To really wrap our heads around our modern malaise, we have to look back at a deeply unsettling 1968 federal experiment known as Universe 25. A scientist named John Calhoun built a flawless, predator-free utopia for exactly 8 mice. Unlimited food, perfect temps, the whole shebang, the ultimate paradise.
But tracking the timeline of this so-called paradise reveals a pretty chilling descent. Day 1, paradise begins. The population explodes, doubling every 55 days. But watch what happens by day 315. With absolutely no new territory to explore, young males lose their purpose, and social breakdown kicks in. By day 560, the population peaks, and society just completely collapses into this bizarre state of apathy and isolated grooming. And by day 920, the last birth happens. The entire colony eventually goes extinct, and it's purely from the conditions of their own perfect comfort. Crazy, right?
Calhoun coined a term for this core problem. He called it the behavioral sink, which is a complete collapse in behavior resulting from overcrowding and a total lack of meaningful social roles. He proved it wasn't the physical comfort that killed the mice. It was a complete collapse of purpose. Without the natural friction of survival, without a territory to defend or a role to fulfill, their will to live literally evaporated. They didn't starve. They essentially died from a total lack of meaning.
Chapter 2, The Lost Ancient Night. So, how does this map to us? Well, humans have spent the last few centuries building our very own version of Universe 25. We've systematically conquered our natural environment, entirely stripping away our natural friction. And it actually started with the eradication of the ancient night. For 300,000 years, the pitch-black night meant gathering tightly in a 30-foot circle of safety right by the campfire. That constraint was a good thing. It gave birth to deep storytelling, culture, and real human connection. But our modern night, we flooded it with artificial screens. We're absolutely bathed in blue light that tricks our retinas into thinking it's still daytime. It suppresses our melatonin, fragments our circadian rhythms, and causes massive insomnia. We are actively destroying the biological rest we evolved to need.
And we lost something even deeper than just sleep. For centuries, right up until Thomas Edison's light bulb, humans naturally experienced what was called first sleep and second sleep. In between those blocks was this incredibly meditative, hormone-rich period of wakefulness in the middle of the night known as the watch. It was a dedicated time for deep reflection, literally flooded with prolactin, which is the exact same hormone released when you meditate. Artificial light has completely erased this. We traded our deepest, most biologically primed moments of reflection for a simple light switch. Chapter 3, Rewiring the Modern Brain. Just like we removed the friction of darkness, we are now doing the exact same thing to our minds. Like the mice who lost their evolutionary friction, our modern utopia of endless digital scrolling and zero struggle is fundamentally rewiring and honestly exhausting our brains. Neuroscience actually exposes the heavy cognitive tax of this digital utopia. When you constantly task switch, like jumping from a spreadsheet over to a text message, then to a quick video, your efficiency absolutely plummets. It's a low-efficiency trap. Your brain pays a steep switching cost every single time you do that. This constant dopamine overload and total lack of uninterrupted focus makes normal, productive activities feel painfully slow and boring. We are literally training our brains to be weak, exhausted, and constantly distracted. But here's the good news. We can fight back. We can actively rewire our neural pathways by introducing intentional friction. Think of these 4 habits to build neural strength. First, do 20 minutes of uninterrupted focus. No tabs, no phone, just focus. Second, maintain a consistent sleep schedule. Third, read challenging texts, stuff slightly above your comfort level to stretch your critical thinking. And fourth, get daily physical movement. You have got to train your brain like a muscle and deliberately inject the struggle it desperately needs to stay strong. Chapter 4, Curing Time Blindness. If we don't introduce this intentional friction, we don't just lose our focus, We fall victim to time blindness, a state where our perfectly comfortable routines cause the years to just slip away totally unnoticed.
Ever wondered why summers felt absolutely endless when you were a kid, but now a whole year flashes by in what feels like a month? That is the time unit paradox. Your brain measures time by recording new experiences. In childhood, everything is novel, so your brain is constantly recording, making time feel huge and expansive. But in adulthood, your brain literally stops recording the repetitive blur of your daily commute and your evening streaming binges. Because it's completely frictionless and routine, your brain just skips saving the data.
But you can actually hack your brain's perception of time. The trap is staying in your comfort zone. The antidote is novelty. Deliberately inject new experiences to force your mind to hit record. Instead of staying comfortable, learn one new skill every single month. Instead of taking the exact same daily commute, travel new routes to work. Instead of only talking to close friends, engage with strangers and your weak ties. Pushing yourself into this adjacent possible forces your brain to wake up, pay attention, and ultimately it actually slows down your perception of time passing. Chapter 5: Designing a Meaningful Life. Ultimately, escaping our modern behavioral sink requires stepping back, taking a macro view, and actively designing a life of meaning, rather than just settling for the default comfort society hands us. Successful life design starts with the two-list strategy. Here is how you ruthlessly manage your energy. Step 1. Write down absolutely everything you want to achieve. Step 2. Circle your top 3 priorities. Step 3, and this is the real secret, ruthlessly avoid everything else on that list. That uncircled list, that's your avoid-at-all-costs list. Knowing exactly what not to do is your absolute greatest advantage in a world designed to constantly distract you. Now, let's jump back to John Calhoun and his mice for a second. Calhoun actually wasn't a doomer. He didn't think human society was destined to collapse like Universe 25. He believed we could avoid that fate through what he called ideational generativity. It's a fancy term, but it basically means the constant, deliberate creation of new ideas, new networks, and new, meaningful roles. The mice couldn't invent new reasons to live once their physical needs were met. But we can. And we do that by designing our own rules for life. Rent objects, but buy experiences, because experiences appreciate in your memory while objects just decay. Optimize for learning over early money. Knowledge is the ultimate multiplier. Practice strategic incompetence on tasks that drain you so people stop asking you to do them. Connect with your weak ties and build real relationship margins. Valuing shared struggles over shared pleasures gives you a life rich in time and true connection. So we'll leave you with this. The ultimate deathbed test. Let this question sit with you. When you are 90 years old, looking back, what will you wish you had avoided? When those 30,000 days are nearly up, what will truly matter? Will you care about that extra hour of busy work or the comfortable routine that blurred your years together? Introduce the friction, learn the new skill, make your days count. Because time is going to pass, whether you actively design your life or simply let it slip away.